How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk. Forgive the background here. I'm upstairs while we're trying to work on the basement. But I wanted to do a follow-up on the Anna Kepner case. So the concerns that I see coming through social media is about the family. And I have some amazing background here. People have sent me emails. This truly does cover a lot. A lot of stuff we didn't know. It's well researched. So I want to go ahead and give this to you guys so it keeps everybody in the loop. All this stuff here is properly referenced and verified. But I would first like to start off with, because this would be Christopher Kepner's, I keep on saying Charles, Christopher Kepner's third marriage. His third marriage is with Shauntel Hudson. But I want to go all the way back to his first marriage with the lady on the left. That would be Heather Wright. Got a little interesting story here. It's more recent. It's after Anna had died. Now, Heather Wright, as I showed you, that is Anna's biological mom. Now, after Anna's death, Heather Wright was at home in Oklahoma when the unthinkable happened. Her 18-year-old daughter, Anna, was dead. But Heather didn't learn this from a phone call, a knock at the door, or even a text message from her ex-husband, which would be the gentleman here, Christopher Kepner, one on top. She learned it from Google. She said, I found out through Google. That's what Heather told WESH2 News, and her voice was breaking. She said, I ended up Googling it because the only information I had was that my daughter was on a cruise. After hearing third hand that something terrible might have happened, Heather tried desperately to reach Anna, calling her phone, messaging her on TikTok. And when she got no response, she turned to her computer and typed the words no mother should ever have to search. 18-year-old died on cruise ship. And that's when her daughter's face popped up all over Google. Her exact words was, that's when my daughter's face popped up all over Google. Anna Marie Kepner, a cheerful blue-eyed cheerleader with dreams of cheering for the Georgia Bulldogs, had been found dead aboard the Carnival Horizon cruise ship on November 7, 2025. There she is. Her body was discovered wrapped in a blanket, stuffed beneath a bed in the cabin she shared with her teenage stepbrother. And her father, Heather's ex-husband, Christopher Kepner, again, there he is. She's saying he never called to even tell her. This is the story of how a family descended into tragedy, marked by 3 troubled marriages, allegations of abuse spanning nearly 2 decades, and ultimately the suspicious death of a beloved daughter that has left a community reeling and federal investigators searching for answers. So I wanted to go first. Again, this is all on record. So we got Christopher Kepner. He's the man at the center. That's this gentleman here. So his name is Christopher Purcell Kepner. He was born on May 19th, 1984 in Florida. By all accounts, he grew up to become a hardworking crane operator, the kind of blue-collar job that keeps construction sites running and families fed. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary life, a pattern was emerging, one that would take decades to fully reveal itself. Christopher's story is one of 3 marriages, each more troubled than the last. It's a story of children caught in the crossfire of allegations whispered in divorce court, and of a man who, according to his second wife, had a history of physical and mental abuse towards the minor children. But it starts, as all stories must, at the beginning, with a young marriage in Brevard County, Florida, and the birth of a little girl named Anna. So again, it is Heather Wright. That is his first wife, and she is the biological mother of Anna. So at the beginning, Heather Marie Wright, now she was born November 23rd, 1984. She married Christopher Kepner in Brevard County, Florida. The ceremony was modest, performed by a notary named Sandra K. Hollings, and it was in the small town of Mims, Florida, a community of just a few thousand people near the Space Coast. On June 13, 2007, their daughter Anna Marie Kepner came into this world. By all accounts, Anna was a joyful child, the kind who made people smile just by being in the room. She would grow up loving the water, constantly begging her mother to take her to the lake to swim She started dance and gymnastics at age 3, a natural performer who loved making people laugh. Anna also had a brother, Connor, who was approximately 3 years younger than her. The young family seemed, from the outside, to be building a normal life. So, the warning signs. But in December of 2008, when Anna was just 18 months old, something disturbing happened. A sexual violence injunction was filed against Christopher Kepner in Brevard County. The petitioner was listed in court records as C.D, filing on behalf of a minor child. The name behind those initials was Christina Danette Donahue. Court records show that Donahue requested protection for a minor child against Christopher. Authorities investigated. A hearing was held on December 18, 2008. The injunction was dismissed. No wrongdoing was found. But here's where the story takes a strange turn. Christina Donahue had a teenage daughter named Tabitha. And Tabitha, according to multiple reports, was babysitting for Christopher and Heather's children. So they say that this is the affair that ended everything. According to multiple news sources, citing family members and court documents, Christopher Kepner began an affair with his children's babysitter, 15-year-old Tabitha Donahue. The marriage to Heather didn't survive. The couple divorced, and Heather eventually moved to Oklahoma, where she would spend the next decade with only limited contact with her daughter. So you have birthday, phone calls, holiday messages, and one visit a few years ago. And again, this is Heather. Heather would later tell reporters that Christopher made it difficult for her to maintain a strong relationship with Anna. The details remain murky, fought over in a divorce that happened years ago. Its records likely sealed or destroyed. But what we know for certain is this: Anna grew up without her biological mother nearby, and the man Christopher married next. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. And the woman Christopher married next was the teenage babysitter, the daughter of the woman who had once sought a protective order against him. So that's Tabitha Donahue. I don't have a picture of her. Couldn't find one. So let's see. This was reported by news outlets. Let's see. So now you have the second marriage, which is Tabitha Donahue. So a marriage they believe, sadly, was built on scandal. So around 2010, Christopher Kepner married Tabitha Donahue. That's the daughter of the woman who had once sought protection from him. Tabitha was young, likely around 17 or 18 at the time of the marriage, depending on when exactly the wedding occurred. For the next 13 years, Tabitha would be the woman who raised Anna from ages 3 to 16. Anna knew Tabitha as the primary mother figure in her life, the woman who took her to cheerleading practice, who helped with homework, who was there for school events and dance recitals. Christopher and Tabitha had at least 2 children together. So that's 2 more siblings for Anna and Connor. And the family lived in Titusville, Florida, a small city on Florida's Space Coast, home to about 48,000 people and known for its proximity to Kennedy Space Center. So now we have Anna with 1 full brother, and now you have 2 half siblings. Let's see. Anna attended Temple Christian School in Titusville, where she became a varsity cheerleader and a beloved member of the school community. Teachers and classmates will later remember her as a straight-A student who was happy and bubbly, someone who lit up every room she entered. Now you start to see some cracks. But behind closed doors, according to court documents, something much darker was happening. On March 31st, 2023, Tabitha L. Kepner walked into the Brevard County Courthouse and filed for divorce. But this wasn't just any divorce petition. It contained a bombshell allegation. In the filing, Tabitha stated that Christopher Purcell Kepner had a history of physical and mental abuse towards the minor children and towards the petitioner, which would be her. She wasn't asking for joint custody. She wasn't asking for sole parental responsibility for the children she shared with Christopher. And she was requesting that any time Christopher spent with the children be supervised. Think about that for a moment. A mother who had been married to a man for over a decade, who had borne his children, was now saying she didn't trust him to be alone with those children. She was asking a judge to ensure that every single interaction between father and children be monitored by another adult. These are not requests made lightly. Courts presume that both parents should have access to their children. So if her mother asked for supervised visitation, suggests she believed her children were in danger. So now you have the divorce. The divorce was finalized from what I saw on August 23rd, 2023. Christopher and Tabitha's marriage was officially dissolved. The details of the custody arrangement are not public, but we know this. Anna, now 16 years old, remained primarily in Christopher's custody. And Christopher was already in a new relationship with a woman named Shauntel Hudson, who brought 3 children of her own into this picture. And I believe that's Shauntel. I just want to mention, if you do the math for Tabitha at the time of marriage, so if the babysitter allegation is true, and she was 15 during the affair, that's around 2008, 2009, then by 2010, she would be somewhere between 17 and 18 years old. But I don't have a birth certificate or marriage certificate, so I can't confirm that. But if you do the math. Anyway, let's go back to Shauntel. So now we enter Shauntel, as I said. Here she is. Shauntel Hudson was born August 10th, 1989, making her about 5 years younger than Christopher. She had been married before to a man named Thomas Hudson, and together they had 3 children. But Shauntel's first marriage had been troubled. In court filings related to her divorce from Thomas, So in court filings related to her divorce from Thomas, Shauntel made allegations of domestic violence, claiming that Thomas Hudson had physically and emotionally abused their 2 younger children. By mid-2023, shortly after Christopher's divorce from Tabitha was finalized, Christopher and Shauntel began in a relationship. They moved quickly. In December of 2024, just over a year after Christopher's divorce, they were married. Shauntel moved to Titusville with her 2 youngest children, Tim Hudson, who was 15 at the time, and a younger daughter who was around 8 years old. Her oldest child, an 18-year-old, had already moved out. So Timothy Hudson would be the stepbrother. That's the main concern, named after his father. The blended family. Now imagine the household. Christopher Kepner with his own complicated history, his 18-year-old daughter, Anna, his 14-year-old son, Connor, possibly his 2 younger children from his marriage to Tabitha, depending on the custody arrangements, and now Shauntel's 2 children, Timothy, a teenage boy, and a younger daughter. Because remember, the older sibling has moved out already. It was a lot of people under one roof, a lot of personalities, a lot of histories, just intersecting in ways that might have seemed manageable on paper, but were likely chaotic in reality. Anna, who had just lost her stepmother, Tabitha, the woman who had raised her for most of her life, now had a new stepmother and new step-siblings, including a teenage boy just 2 years younger than her. But now you have some custody war here. But the drama didn't end there. Shauntel's ex-husband, Thomas Hudson, was not happy with the custody arrangements. So in late 2024, he filed a motion for contempt, accusing Shauntel of willfully violating court orders and denying his parenting time. Meanwhile, Thomas Hudson's mother, Michelle Johnson, filed a small claim suit against Shauntel, seeking the return of several firearms, a 12-gauge shotgun, and 2 rifles. In emails submitted to the court, Michelle accused Shauntel of manipulating and alienating her children from their father. The battle lines were drawn, and in the middle of all this chaos, Anna Kepner, a teenager who had already lost one mother figure and was adjusting to a new family structure, was trying to navigate her senior year of high school. All right, let's see. Now you have the family vacation. So this is going to bring us to early November of 2025. Christopher decided the family needed a vacation. He booked a 6-day Caribbean cruise aboard the Carnival Horizon, a massive ship that can hold nearly 4,000 passengers with pools, water slides, theaters, and endless entertainment. It was meant to be a bonding experience, a chance for this newly blended family to come together to create memories to start fresh. Those who boarded the ship on November 3rd, 2025 included Christopher Kepner, age 41, Shauntel Kepner, age 36, Anna Kepner, age 18, Connor Kepner, age 14, that's Anna's biological brother, Tim Hudson, age 16, that's Shauntel's son, Anna's stepbrother, and 1 younger child, likely Shauntel's daughter. The ship departed from a Florida port, heading into the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, bound for tropical islands where passengers could snorkel, shop, and soak up the sun. For a few days, everything seemed fine. The family ate meals together, explored the ship, enjoyed the sunshine. Photos from the cruise, if any exist, would likely show smiling faces, the kind of forced cheerfulness that often accompanies family vacations where everyone is trying to get along. But beneath the surface, something was terribly wrong. So on the evening of November 6th, on Thursday evening, November 6th, the family gathered for dinner. Anna was there, but she told her family she wasn't feeling well. She was tired, maybe coming down with something. She decided to skip the evening activities and head back to her cabin early. The cabin she was sharing with her 14-year-old brother Connor, her 16-year-old stepbrother Timothy, and possibly one other younger sibling. Surveillance cameras captured Anna returning to the cabin. Shortly after, her stepbrother Tim and the younger sibling headed back as well. Then, according to cruise ship footage analyzed by investigators, something strange happened. The youngest child was captured leaving the cabin again, wandering the ship, taking pictures around the vessel that night. But Timothy Hudson, the 16-year-old stepbrother, never reemerged from the cabin. The cameras captured him going in, but they never captured him coming back out. Now you got November 7th to search. When the sun rose on November 7th, Anna wasn't at breakfast. Her family called her phone, no answers. They knocked on her cabin door, no response. They searched the deck, thinking maybe she'd gone for an early morning walk or was watching the sunrise. By mid-morning, panic had set in. On a ship this size, a person could be anywhere or they could be nowhere at all. The worst fear on any cruise ship is that someone has gone overboard, lost to sea. The crew initiated search protocols. They checked all the public areas, made announcements over the ship's PA system. Would Anna Kepner please report to guest services? The message echoed through corridors and across sun decks. She never reported. Then around 11:17 a.m., the Discovery, at approximately 11:17 in the morning, a Carnival housekeeper entered the cabin Anna had been sharing with her brothers. She was there to clean, to change the sheets, to restock the towels, and that's when she found her. Anna's body was under the bed, wrapped in a blanket. She had been there all night, just feet away from where her family was sleeping. She had been there all morning while her family searched the ship in panic. She had been dead for hours. And by the way, she was covered with life jackets as well. So now you have the international waters. This is kind of like a timeline now. So enters the FBI. Because the Carnival Horizon was in international waters when Anna's body was discovered, local police had no jurisdiction. Instead, the case immediately fell to the Federal Bureau of Investigations. The FBI Miami's office took the lead. Agents boarded the ship as soon as it docked, treating Anna's cabin as a crime scene. They interviewed passengers, reviewed surveillance footage, examined the body, and began piecing together what had happened in that cabin on the night of November 6th. Cause of death on November 22nd, 2025, more than 2 weeks after Anna's death, ABC News broke a significant development in this case, citing a source briefed on the investigation. Anna had died of asphyxiation. Specifically, she had been killed by a bar hold, a term used to describe holding an arm or forearm across someone's neck, cutting off their airway. Investigators found 2 bruises on the side of her neck consistent with this type of compression. Preliminary toxicology findings indicated no signs of sexual assault, no apparent drugs or alcohol in her system. This was not an accidental overdose. This was not a fall, a heart attack, or a suicide. This was, according to the evidence, asphyxiation caused by another person. As of November 23rd, 2025, the Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner's Office has not yet released an official autopsy report, and full toxicology results can take weeks or even months to complete, but the preliminary findings paint a very, very disturbing picture. All right, guys, so the suspect. So court filings related to Shauntel Hudson's ongoing custody battle with Thomas Hudson revealed something explosive. The FBI had told Shauntel that a criminal case may be initiated against one of her minor children related to Anna Kepner's death. That minor child is Timothy Tim Hudson, Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother, the boy who was in the cabin with Anna on the night she died, the boy who the surveillance camera never captured leaving the cabin after he entered. That means they slept there the whole night with her body hidden. As of November 23rd, 2025, no charges have been filed and no arrests have been made. Timothy Hudson is currently staying with a relative, not his mother or father, at an undisclosed location. So there's some disturbing red flags. After Anna's death, disturbing information began to surface about Timothy Hudson's behavior towards Anna. Anna's ex-boyfriend's father came forward to speak with Fox News. He revealed that Timothy had been obsessed with Anna. The ex-boyfriend himself described the chilling incident. During a FaceTime call with Anna, he witnessed his stepbrother climbing on top of Anna while she was sleeping. The ex-boyfriend said he immediately reported this to Anna's parents. Anna, according to her ex-boyfriend, had complained about being uncomfortable around Timothy before. Were these concerns taken seriously? Did Christopher and Shauntel intervene? Did they make sure Anna and Timothy were never alone together? We don't know. What we do know is that Anna ended up sharing a cabin with Timothy on that cruise, and she never came home. And guys, there's some sources that also say that when he was climbing on top of her, he could have had a weapon. A knife could have been seen. But that hasn't been verified. So I want to go back to Heather again. Here she is. So Heather Wright was at home, I said, in Oklahoma when her daughter died. She didn't get a phone call from Christopher. She didn't get a text. She didn't get a visit from police or FBI agents. She got nothing. My ex-husband did not try to contact me at all whatsoever to let me know that my daughter died. That's what Heather told News Nation Banfield. He never once tried to call me and get a hold of me and anything when she died. Instead, Heather heard through the grapevine, third-hand information from someone who had heard something about Anna being on a cruise where something had happened. Worried, Heather tried to reach Anna directly. She called her phone repeatedly. She sent TikTok message, nothing. Finding out of desperation, she turned to Google and typed 18-year-old died on cruise ship. Can you imagine finding it out that way? Her daughter's face appeared across the screen, plastered on news sites from Florida to national outlets. Anna was dead, and Heather was finding out the same way complete strangers are finding out, by reading the news. She goes, I found out through Google, Heather said, her voice hollow. That's when my daughter's face popped up all over Google. As of November 23rd, 2025, more than 2 weeks after Anna's death, Heather still has not heard from Christopher Kepner or from the FBI. When Heather told Christopher she planned to attend Anna's memorial service, his response was chilling. If you step foot in Florida, I will have you arrested immediately for bad child support. Think about that. Mother wants to attend her daughter's funeral, and the father, the man who never even told her their daughter was dead, threatens her with arrest. But Heather went anyway. On November 21st, 2025, Anna's celebration of life was held at the Grove Church in Titusville. Mourners wore blue, Anna's favorite color. They shared stories, shed tears, celebrated a life cut tragically short, and Heather was there wearing a wig and high heels to avoid being recognized, to avoid being ejected, to avoid the confrontation Christopher had threatened. A mother shouldn't have to disguise herself to mourn her own child, but Heather did. In interviews after Anna's death, Heather painted a picture of a vibrant, joyful young woman. She always wanted to make people laugh. She loved the water. We were constantly going to the lake here where I live so she can go swimming. That's what Heather said. Anna had been in dance and gymnastics since she was 3 years old, which led to her becoming a cheerleader and team leader. She dreamed of becoming a cheerleader for the Georgia Bulldogs. A great girl who never got into trouble, Heather said. A daughter who called on birthdays and holidays. A daughter who, despite the distance and the difficulties, loved her mother. And now she's gone, and Heather is left with Google searches and news articles and a memorial service where she had to wear a disguise. So after Anna's death, her obituary was published online, but something strange happened. It was significantly modified after the initial publication. The name of Tabitha Kepner, Christopher's second ex-wife, the woman who raised Anna for most of her life, was initially listed as Anna's mother. Then it was removed entirely. The current version lists only Heather Wright as her mother. A reference to the Donahue family was also removed. Funny. As you know, Tabitha Donahue was 15. That's what they're saying when they met, if that holds true. And she was babysitting, so maybe he knew the media was going to be on top of this. But I remember this. A lot of people thought that Tabitha Kepner was the mother, so it did become a bit confusing. Most tellingly, a reference to Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother was also removed from the list of survivors, the stepbrother who is now believed to be the suspect in her death. Someone, presumably Christopher or someone acting on his behalf, went through Anna's obituary and systematically erased the people who might complicate the narrative or raise uncomfortable questions. When reporters visited the Kepner family home in Titusville, they found Anna's car parked outside, a heartbreaking reminder of the young woman who would never drive it again. 2 vehicles, a Dodge truck and a Chevy SUV, sat in the driveway, but when reporters knocked on the door, no one answered. Neighbors described the Kepners as a friendly family. They said the street has been quiet since Anna's death. No one has seen much of the family. The house sits silent. So on November 20th, 2025, a virtual court hearing was held in the ongoing Hudson versus Hudson custody case. Shauntel Kepner's attorney, Melissa Athenison, filed a motion asking the court to seal any new filings. The press has been hounding both myself and my client, Athenson told the judge. She also stated the FBI has cleared my client from any wrongdoing. That would be Shauntel. This is an important distinction. The attorney said Shauntel had been cleared, not Timothy. Shauntel herself is not suspected of harming Anna, but her son remains under investigation. The attorneys indicated that Shauntel would potentially subpoena investigators from Florida's Department of Children and Families during upcoming custody hearings, suggesting that DCF has become involved in investigating the family's circumstances. Now you have the waiting game. As November 23rd, that's today, 2025, the investigation continues. The FBI is building its case. Timothy Hudson remains in an undisclosed location with a relative. No charges have been filed. The Miami-Dade medical examiner has not released official autopsy findings. Full toxicology results are still pending. And Anna's family, friends, and school community continue to mourn. Temple Christian School has held tributes. Classmates have posted memories on social media. And a bright light has been extinguished. And the community is left asking, how did this happen? So Anna Marie Kepner was 18 years old. She loved the water. She loved making people laugh. She was a straight-A student, a varsity cheerleader, a daughter, a sister, a friend. She went on a cruise ship with her family and never came home. So this case raises some profound questions. So you have about Christopher Kepner, a man who has been married 3 times, whose second wife accused him of abusing their children, who never called his daughter's biological mother to tell her their child was dead. What kind of father threatens a grieving mother with arrest to keep her away from her daughter's funeral? And what a strange dynamic that is. Then you got about the system, a sexual violence injunction filed in 2008 and dismissed, abuse allegations in a 2023 divorce petition, an ex-boyfriend reporting disturbing behavior. Were there warning signs that were missed? Could honest death have been prevented? We've done videos on this. And then you got the family dynamic. How does an 18-year-old end up sharing a cabin with a 6-year-old stepbrother who allegedly made her uncomfortable? Why were these children placed in such close quarters with concern when concerns have been raised? And then you got about justice. Will charges be filed? Will there be a trial? Will anyone be held accountable for Anna's death? As of November 23rd, 2025, these questions remain unanswered. The FBI continues its investigation. A family is shattered. A community mourns. And a mother in Oklahoma who had to learn of her daughter's death through Google waits for answers that may never fully come. Sorry, guys, there was a lot there. I had to do some research myself on what was given to me. But I think this gives us the family dynamic. So that gets us a little bit closer to understanding that complexity. But I would love your thoughts. I'm going to do a show possibly tomorrow about a case in Lancaster that happened in 2020, but they just went through the court process 5 years later. It started, I think it was November 17th. Or that's when I think the results came back. It looks like this couple, it's horrible what they did, but it looks like they got life without parole. And what they did to their children, the 2. And then what they forced the other 2 to see is just tremendous, just horrendous. So I'm going to work on that case, still working on that. I'm going to have someone hopefully be a guest on that. If not, I could always get the information out there and then work with the guest later on to have our discussions. But in the meantime, if you guys like the show, please donate me a cup of coffee, whatever it's called. Buy me a cup of coffee. I have a link on the description. I also have a link on top of my YouTube channel. As always, guys, stay safe.